Hey Gems! Welcome to A Gem Forever, a podcast designed to keep things real, righteous, and relevant. I'm your host, Andrea, an educator and a Christian blogger. I desire to help others become the best version of themselves while realizing the gem they are within. Remember, gems have to be molded and shaped, so let's get to work and start applying some pressure. Hey Gems, thank you so much for tuning into the first episode of the A Gem Forever podcast. I'm so excited to finally be sharing with you all and grateful that you've decided to take time out of your day to tune in. Before I dive into the first episode, I just wanted to give a brief introduction of who I am for those who may not know me and to give a little backstory on A Gem Forever. I am a Christian blogger and an educator who's always been passionate about helping others go after their dreams and realizing their full potential. I started blogging seriously about a year ago. I started off just doing weekly gems, which are gratifying, empowering messages, and began pairing them with weekly devotionals. I recently did a blog series on Black millennial Christian entrepreneurs called Black Millennials Doing It Big for God, the Community, and the Culture. I really just wanted people to see that regular, everyday individuals just like ourselves, are going after their dreams while using the gifts that God has given them and doing what He has called them to do. You can actually check out this series on my website, agemforever.com. It features some dope and amazing Christian entrepreneurs. Shout out to them. So the name A Gem Forever was actually sparked by a coworker of mine who always used to tell me that I was such a gem. And from that, the word gem kind of always stuck with me. And when it was time for me to give my blog a name and was seeking God for answers, the word gem was the first thing that popped up. I started to do some research on gems, specifically diamonds, and I learned that diamonds are formed about 90 to 100 miles below the Earth's surface in temperatures of at least 2,000 degrees. They're delivered to the Earth's surface during volcanic eruptions, and then the diamonds are mined and they're cut and shaped into the gems that we all marvel over. And the process that diamonds have to go through made me think of people and how God views us. And just like diamonds, God allows us to go through immense amounts of pressure at times to mold us and to shape us into who He has called us to be. And when He's done, we look like a beautiful new creation to the world, but we were just as valuable to Him when we were those diamonds that were under the earth's surface. He just needed to refine us so that we would be capable and ready to do His work. And it made me realize that in His eyes, we are indeed gems forever. And that's how the name was born. So now that you've been given a brief synopsis on who I am and what my blog is all about, let's get into this first episode titled Boss Up and Go Get It. So I decided to title the first episode of this podcast, Boss Up and Go Get It, because I remember being in a car one day. I just finished listening to a sermon on fear, and I stopped and I started thinking. I was in my head and my thoughts, and I started thinking about all of the times in life that we, myself included, miss out on opportunities because of fear. We miss out on things because we're afraid. We often allow the thoughts and opinions of others to kind of stand in the way of us going after things that we have been gifted and called to do. We wonder, what is this person going to think? What are they going to say? What happens if I try this and I fail? I don't want to disappoint anyone. Oftentimes it's not even other people's opinions that we allow to stand in our way. Sometimes it's ourselves. Often we can be our biggest critics, and we can be the biggest doubters of our own potential, just kind of worrying and thinking that we don't have what it takes to go out and execute and do what we know has been placed within us. We self-talk ourselves out of a lot of things, thinking that we're not worthy and thinking that we just don't have what it takes to get it done. And thinking about that made me think back to a time in my life when I was a lot younger. Well, not a lot younger, I ain't that old, but made me think about a time in my life when I was younger and I was a lot less fearful. I was fearless, to be honest. If an opportunity presented itself to me and I just had the slightest inclination that I could do it, I would go for it, and I wouldn't think anything of it. And I had to sit back and kind of think about, as I've gotten older, what happened? Why am I, not as fearless as I was in the past. And of course, as you get older, life changes. You want more stability. You want things to be consistent. So, you kind of talk yourself out of, I feel like, taking as many risks, because you don't want to chance, it going the wrong way and having to start back over. And so I had to get back to a space where I realized that if God has called me to do something, I have no reason to fear, because He has already equipped me with everything that I'm going to need to make it happen. And so although He's already equipped me, there is work that I'm going to have to do on my part in order to achieve it also, and to also make it happen. So that's where Boss Up and Go Get It came into play. So I thought about 5 ways in which I actually had to boss up and go get it in this season of my life. And I wanted to share them with you all in hopes that it would kind of challenge you and encourage you to, go after what it is that you feel you're being called to do, going after what you feel you're gifted to do, and not allowing fear to stand in the way of that. So the first thing that I wanted to encourage you and challenge you to do is to trust your crazy ideas. Trust your crazy ideas. Being normal is so overrated. Sometimes we get these ideas, they come to our mind and we're like, no, I don't know how that's going to work. That just seems too out there. Like, I'm not going to be able to make that happen. And sometimes those ideas that you think are the craziest are God-given ideas, and oftentimes it's things that He wants us to do and that He has placed within us, something that He wants to birth out of us, and we just have to trust the process and go along with the idea and pray about how we can make it happen and how we can bring it to fruition. And sometimes when you think things are crazy, crazy might just work. Crazy might just be what you need to push yourself, to challenge yourself, to put yourself out there, to take you out of your comfort zone, to encourage you to take a risk. And at the end of the day, we do all of these things, of course, for to bring glory to God's kingdom. So trust your crazy ideas. And I want you to think about, when you do it, think about this question. If you absolutely knew that your idea could not fail, what would you create? So always keep that in the back of your mind when you have these ideas. Like, I have this idea, and if that idea doesn't fail, what could I create? Like, what could I make happen? And just go with it. So number 1, trust your crazy ideas. Being normal is overrated. So overrated. So the second thing that I want to challenge you and encourage you to do is to talk to yourself in the mirror. Talk to yourself in the mirror. I know it might seem a little strange and a little out there, and a little weird, but trust me, it's not. A lot of people do it. But yes, talk to yourself in the mirror, because oftentimes there are going to be times when you literally have to encourage yourself. You may try to reach out to a friend and they might not be, right there when you need that encouragement. So you have to learn how to encourage yourself, and affirm yourself. And look in the mirror and, speak life over yourself, speak confidence and boldness over yourself. Tell yourself how beautiful you are, tell yourself how powerful you are, tell yourself how worthy you are, tell yourself that you got this. Literally look at yourself, and just speak life into yourself so that you have the courage and the boldness and the tenacity to go after what it is that God has called you to do, and go after what it is that you desire. Talk to yourself in the mirror, just like you talk to someone else. Just, sit there and, talk to yourself, affirm yourself. Like, I'll look in the mirror and be like, girl, you got this. Like, you bad girl, you're going to be able to make it happen. Like, just, and then if, like, there's a situation that I'm going into, or like if there's a meeting or something that I'm getting ready to go into, I talk to myself, ask myself questions, think about how I'm going to answer it, think about what I'm going to say. So it's like, self-preparation, preparing yourself and affirming yourself and talking to yourself to give yourself the confidence that you need to go forth and make things happen. So talk to yourself in the mirror. Talk to yourself in the mirror every day. I talk to myself in the mirror every day because you're the person who knows yourself the best. So if you can't talk to yourself and encourage yourself, what makes you think that anybody else is going to be able to do it? So get comfortable talking to yourself, encouraging yourself, and just do it. Talk to yourself in the mirror. So the third thing that I want to encourage and challenge you to do to make sure that you are able to boss up and get out there and go get it is to set priorities, goals, and deadlines. Set priorities, goals, and deadlines. It is so extremely important to make sure that you do that, especially when you have an idea or something that you want to accomplish, because a goal without a plan is just a wish. I'm sure we all have heard that time and time again. A goal without a plan is just a wish, meaning that if there is something that you want to accomplish but you do not have a plan set forth, it is never going to get done. Trust me, I know. So say, for example, if you know that you want to write a book, but you work a full-time job from 9 to 5, and when you get home, you have to get yourself ready for the next day. You have to make dinner, all this other stuff. You have to make sure that you make time in your schedule to get your book done. So you need to prioritize, whether it be you write it on a dry erase board, you write it on a calendar, you make a note in your phone that from 7 to 8 every day during the week, I'm going to spend an hour after work working on my book. Because if you just have this idea of working on the book, but you don't actually prioritize the time to work on the book, it's not going to get done. And oftentimes it's going to mean saying no to stuff. Especially if you have a goal that you want to reach. Saying no, I can't do that because from this time to this time, I'm working on something for myself. So be sure to set priorities, goals, and deadlines and stick to them, because if you don't, the idea that you have, or the goal that you want to reach, or what God has called you to do, is going to take you longer to reach it if you aren't able to discipline yourself. Within setting priorities, goals, and deadlines, discipline is definitely key. And we know that with God, delayed obedience is still disobedience. And so we want to be obedient to what he has called us to do. So if he's giving you an idea and you know that you have to make it happen, be cognizant of it and make sure that you set priorities, goals, and deadlines to make it happen. And of course, in order to meet those priorities, goals, and deadlines, it actually brings me to my fourth point, which is accountability. Making sure that you have people in your life who are going to hold you accountable to what it is that you say you're going to do. That's also a big part of making sure that you reach your goals. Making sure that you have people to hold you accountable, because oftentimes it can be difficult, because life goes on and life happens, for you to be the only person to hold yourself accountable. Because oftentimes, we get tired, we try to make the time, but something else might come up that you want to do instead of doing what it is that you said. So it's very important to have accountability, when you have a goal that you want to attain. So talk to a friend, get an accountability partner, and say, hey, I'm working on this. I want to have it done by this date. I need you to check in with me every day or every week, on this day at this time, to make sure that I am reaching my goal. And if I'm not working on it, I need you to, correct me and be like, hey, you told me that you wanted to get this accomplished by this date, and you can't get it accomplished if you're not working on it. So make sure you have people in your corner who can hold you accountable and who can make sure that you say that you do what it is that you say that you're going to do. And the fifth and last thing that I want to talk about in making an effort to boss up and go get it is to make connections and network. Make connections and network. I think we take for granted oftentimes how important it is to make connections with people and to network in order to put ourselves out there, to put a face with a name. You never know when you go out to different events, to different meetings, to different social settings, who you can meet, who you can connect with, who you can network with, that may be on the same wavelength as you, maybe trying to achieve the same goal that you're trying to achieve, maybe doing something completely different than you, but they may have insight on what it is that you're trying to do, and they're relevant to you, and they can help you, push you along and plant a seed, and help you bring your idea, and your goals to life. So try to make connections with people, build new relationships with people outside of your circle, people that you may not necessarily even be comfortable around, people who aren't typically the same as you, if that makes sense. Someone that may not look like you, someone that may not even be able to relate to you outside of a professional aspect. But it's important, to be bold and go out there and make those connections even when it's uncomfortable, and network with people who you don't even think you be able to gel with, but you never know what God can do and what could happen. So make sure that you try to put yourself out there as much as possible. If you're branding, make your brand known, get out there, make connections, network with people, talk to people, collaborate with people, build relationship within different networks and different social environments. And just see what God is able to do, and see how he can blow your mind just by you going out there and being obedient and being in relationship. He calls us to be in relationship with other people. And that doesn't always mean just people that and you're comfortable with. Sometimes I want you to be in relationship with people who you have no clue about, but I want you to learn about them, because you learning about them and what they do is going to bring, relevance to your cause, and it's going to help amp up what it is that I have called for you to do. And those are the 5 ways in which I worked on how to boss up and go get it in this season of my life. To reiterate them, number 1 was to trust your crazy ideas. Number 2 was to talk to yourself in the mirror. Number 3 was to set priorities, goals, and deadlines. Number 4 was to have accountability. And number 5 was to make connections and to network. So I encourage you in this season of your life, if you're not already doing all of these wonderful things, to incorporate them into your life, to challenge yourself, to push yourself, to just kind of put yourself out there, to truly boss up and go get it and be everything that God has gifted and called you to be in this season. Thank you all so much for tuning into the very first episode of the A Gem Forever podcast. I am so grateful that you took time out of your day to stop and listen to me. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to and sharing with you all. I'm looking forward to being back soon with a very special guest. I pray that you all have a wonderful rest of the week. I pray that you just go after all that God has for you, and that you allow nothing to stand in your way. I also pray that you are the kindness and the light that this world needs, and I encourage you to shine bright this week. I love you, gems, and I'll be back with you very soon. Mwah.